Hey guys, welcome back to more Reddit stories about entitled people. Hope you're all doing awesome today, and we're jumping right in. A local Facebook Karen is angry at people not pulling off to the side of the road when she's driving fast behind them with their hazard lights on. Other Karens have responded to her post in support, but others are disagreeing. My county has 2 different community pages. Basically, Karen's daughter went into labor in a city about 45 minutes away. That's where the daughter lives. Karen didn't mention anything about pregnancy or labor complications, so I'm assuming that means there wasn't any. She rushed to the hospital with their hazard lights on, and now she's upset that people wouldn't get out of her way. And both she and some others are blaming young people. She, as well as some other people, say that pulling over for fast cars with their hazard lights on was the norm in our community back in the day. My dad and his family moved to our county sometime around '81, and he said he's never heard of this being the norm here or anywhere. He said Karen's behavior was dangerous and illegal. Here's Karen's post with the names of locations omitted. Quote, "Okay, so I'm going to vent for a second or 20. I've lived in such and such county my whole life, and don't get me wrong, I get that it's growing leaps and bounds, and that's great and all, but here is my issue. Yesterday, my daughter lives in such and such city, and she went into labor, so I take off from my house to head to the city. I put my 4-way flashers on. Now, when I took my driver's test years ago, they taught you that when you seen someone with flashers on and they wasn't driving slow, that meant there is an emergency to get over and let them go around you. If they was driving slow, then it was either a funeral procession and you pulled over to pay your respect to the family, or they was having car problems, so you followed behind them until they pulled off, or you could safely get around them. If you knew the person and they pulled over, you lent a helping hand. Nowadays, people in such and such county are just rude. They don't stop for funeral procession and they don't get over for emergencies. Also, so many don't know how to drive. I couldn't tell you how many times lately we have almost been hit head on, either in such and such town hill area or such and such road area. We are better than this, my fellow county peeps. I'm sure half have lost interest in this post by now, and that's okay. I'm just venting, and it's not like it's going to make a difference anyways. God bless and all have a great evening." End quote. A debate has now started on the local Facebook page. I will show you some people who are supporting Karen, for, and some who are not, against. For, welcome to the new generation. You mean people who take driver's tests read the entire book and care? All they care is if they pass and then do what the hell they want. Karen's response? That's the truth. And another quote, "Vent on, you are so right. People are very disrespectful these days. We are better than this. What the younger generation has to go through to get a driver's license, you'd think they would be better drivers." Karen's response, "Yes." And another quote, "They don't even pull over for an ambulance or fire truck anymore." And the people against are saying, quote, "I'm probably going to get slammed, but your daughter going into labor is not an emergency. Unless she was having complications, but nowhere did you say that in your rant. You can, and most do, in a normal labor situation, drive at speed limit to arrive safely to your destination. Why misuse the hazard warning lights? I'm a 6-time grandma and have never used my hazards to get to the hospital. I know you were very excited and wanting to get there as soon as possible, but why risk not only yourself but others? Also, someone with more knowledge than I, please tell me that if I'm wrong in saying, unless you're the one driving the woman in labor, that this was not an emergency for the usage of hazard lights." End quote. And another quote says, "Only the EMS, fire department, and police officers can do that." Karen's response? Quote, No, sorry, anyone can drive with flashers on for emergencies. People used to be more kind and pay more attention to their surroundings, and would get over out of kindness, but we don't have that in this world anymore. People want to be rude all the time." End quote. Somebody responded to her response with the state's official legal writing for proper usage of hazard lights. And another quote, "You are not the police or any kind of first responder. Just because your hazard lights are on does not mean people have to pull over for you." End quote. And another one, "Congratulations on the birth of your grandbaby first off. However, that doesn't constitute an emergency. When I received the phone call that my mother was in cardiac arrest and could hear the alarms in the background, I didn't think that I should be allowed to utilize my flashers just to arrive quicker. However, I admit to not exactly obeying the speed limit." And for the last quote, "Not an emergency situation. Sorry." These are just some of the responses. Fortunately, it seems that at least over 50% of the people on the page seem to disagree with her. I would like to add that my county has been experiencing lots of economic and population growth. So the old guard, aka families who have been in this low population area for generations and have controlled pretty much everything one way or another, are freaking out. New people and businesses other than the old guard's farms are moving in, and many members of the old guard are freaking out. Yeah, someone being in labor is not a reasonable justification to do that. Just because your hazards are on doesn't automatically make you a first responder. Having the right to make people move out of the way in traffic so you can speed through above the speed limit is a right that only first responders have. So the thought that some soccer mom thinks that her daughter being in labor gives her the right to be a street racer and everyone needs to watch out is honestly pretty amusing, but also concerning. And let's not forget the main purpose of hazard lights in the first place. It's in the name, it's to indicate a hazard, not necessarily to indicate an emergency. Which, for the record, this wasn't an emergency anyway. Take my ID and ask me what the F are you going to do about it? Okay. So when I was a wee superb raccoon, but still superb, I was in the Navy. By the way, that's just OP's username. Recently 21, we decided to go to a bar that had a decent local cover band. So we show up and I present my ID. Grant you, clean cut and close shaved, I did not look 21. But my out-of-state ID was no good, and all I had was my military ID. The doorman decides he can screw with me. This is fake. I am keeping it. My eyes bugged out. Dude, that is a military ID. Give it back. Nope, mine now. $20 or F off. I can't get back on base without it, I said. Then you better cough up $20 or F off. Oh, I see. This is a shakedown. F off, huh? Okay. My buddy who drove and used state ID drove us back. We go into the officer of the day's office to report my lost and stolen ID. The officer of the day is a crusty old bastard, but fair. He listens. My buddy backs my story. His eyes narrow in an evil, evil way. Chief, can you come up here? I got a present for you. I started to shake a little. Am I headed for a few days in the brig for losing my ID? Crap, there goes any chance of a bump to E4. But he says, Seaman OP here says the doorman at Joe's took his ID and wants $20. Pull a driver and one of those jarheads at the gate and go down there and sort it out. The chief looks at me like fresh meat. Come on, you two. We are going for a ride. So we all pile up in the van with a couple of Marines in BDU and sidearms. It is quiet on the way there. Chief, don't look too happy. Can't believe I gotta deal with this crap. Well, at least I don't have to sit at the desk all night. So we roll up. Place is pretty packed. Doorman don't look so tough as the chief stalks up to him, like a storm cloud spitting lightning, and two armed Marines flanking him. I am hanging back. OP, this the guy with your ID? Yes, Chief. Chief gets up toe-to-toe with him. Chief is short and wide, but is built like a brick wall. Gym muscle Doorman takes a step back, but dude has nowhere to go in the little entranceway. Give me his ID now, or I will start looking for it myself. ID is produced. Handed to me. Doorman ignored. Chief pulls the door open and looks at the room. Motions for the Marines to make a hole to the bar. Make it wide. They do so, calmly shouting to move people out of the way as the music and talk dies down. Chief grabs a chair, stands on it, then uses his parade ground voice. All active duty military. The site is now on the prohibited list. Pay your tab and get out. He gets down, walks out with the Marines tailing him, and half the bar follows them out. Very few are active duty this far from base, but many are reserve or retired. They don't like crap like this either. The place went on the list, and was still there when I transferred out 6 months or so later. Entitled mother halts ambulance because the sirens are too loud for her child. I was just finishing school for good and putting the worst part of that year to bed. My friends and I decided to get some drinks at a local pub. As expected, for being finally free of the shackles of school, one thing led to another and we ended up doing my town's equivalent of the Golden Mile by 3 p.m. We were officially released at 11 a.m. right when all the pubs were opening up for the day. Regardless, it was safe to say by pub number 6, we were pretty on top of the world, acting like the total yobs society comes to expect of us. However, we were not harming anyone in any way, shape, or form. It was just a pleasant gathering with the occasional loud banter. This is when the lower ends of the school started to break out and start going home for the day. This is when we started to tone down. This is when the day started to fall apart. To cut a long explanation short, one of the dudes tagging along with us, whom I will list as K, got hit by a car that mounted the pavement and thrown along the pavement. He was pretty banged up and the car had disappeared into the distance. It left a huge cut on his face, which was bleeding like there was no tomorrow, and I'm fairly certain his knee was completely dislodged. We called an ambulance for K, because it's not like a bunch of intoxicated teens could drive him, which is where entitled mother comes into play. Where K got hit by a car just happened to be outside of school breaking out for the day. We heard the sirens of the ambulance in the distance, and we started to feel that slight bit sober due to the situation. The ambulance pulled up on the side of the road, turning the sirens off. I didn't notice at first, but there were a kid and his mom glaring, which I took a quick glance to but thought nothing of it. The paramedics treated K's wounds to the best of their abilities and got him onto a stretcher and into the back of an ambulance. One of our guys went with him in the ambulance. As the ambulance pulled away, it initiated the sirens once more. It was an emergency, of course. K was actually losing quite a bit of blood. Enter entitled mother. She ran out in front of the ambulance, causing the brakes to be slammed on. She began screaming, "You made my son jump. Go and apologize." I notice this quickly and I shout, "Hey, get the f*** out of the way." The woman, showing no signs of moving, says, "Get out and go say sorry to my son. He's crying now because of you." The ambulance is trying to pull away the best it can, but entitled mom shows no signs of moving. "I told you to stop," said the entitled mom. Another one of the group decided to act quickly, approaching the mother. "Get out of my way, I'm trying to have a conversation," said the mom. That said person from the group decides to grab the mother by the waist and slams her onto the grass on the side of the road, which I can safely say worked. The ambulance managed to pull away. But it doesn't end there. Nope. "How f***ing dare you," said the entitled mom. As the entitled mom gets up, her kid is crying louder and louder. She tried to hit our guy. It didn't go well for her. Our guy promptly responds with a slap, which I felt standing about 20 feet away. The entitled mother, speechless, begins to leave, her kid attempting to follow behind. We never heard from the police for assault, which was great. K made a full recovery after some stitches and a few months on crutches. Not sure if the driver ever got caught. Everybody lost contact after a while. The last of us walked into the sunset and never felt better. What a day. And that's going to be it for today. Thank you all for watching. I appreciate it. Be sure to drop a like if you enjoyed and also hit that subscribe button for more. So have an awesome day and I'll see you next time.